And then I will share our screen. Great thing. Okay, well, it has been a while, and I know Kermit, you weren't able to join us for our strategic planning retreat earlier this year, but Tara James and Marcella Diaz are here from the Beta Agency, and they've been our consultants this year on the strategic plan for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So tonight we're going to jointly present where we've been, where we're going, and have a discussion among the commission about your priorities. So just to start off, you might recall, I'd love to get this thing out of here. So you might recall that we had our circle discussion. Was that in March?
Yes.
January?
No,
January.
Yeah. And we had our whole day here at City Hall and had some really great conversation. And so we're just gonna go through what the progress has been from that point on. There was some initial recommendations that the Beta Agency will share with you. We'll have a discussion about your vision for the future, and then share some findings from the research that we've been doing this year. So one of the things I wanted to share, and I think you're all pretty familiar with this, but the City Council did adopt a new strategic plan this year, and these are the 4 goals. And I just wanted to point out that that there's a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion language entwined in these goals, and really in a lot of the objectives and the work elements that are in the action plan. So I just wanted to take a moment and talk about, the vision statement talks about wanting to cultivate a safe and inclusive community. In the 4 goals, a vibrant community that fosters connections among our members, that we celebrate arts, culture, and diversity. In the responsible government arena, we want to make sure that we're maintaining transparency and responsiveness. And there's actually some detailed objectives and action steps in that goal to make sure that we're enhancing our community engagement efforts. We've talked a little bit about the community ambassador program. So there's a lot of different initiatives the council and you all are interested in doing to make sure that we better connect with our community, which also relates to informed and engaged community. There's a lot of need to better understand who our community is and how to reach them, and that our whole community feels the ability to engage with our city, both civically, in a volunteer capacity, or just to go out and meet neighbors and feel comfortable and safe in the community. And then in environmental sustainability and resiliency, we want to make sure that we're prepared for climate impacts and especially protect our vulnerable populations who might be most impacted by whether it's heat, smoke, flooding, or any other kind of storm or event that we might have. So those are the goals. So since we had our circle conversation, we initiated a poll with staff to understand where they are in feeling welcome in their own work environment, how they feel from a DEI perspective, how they're treated at work, and also their own perspective on how we could do better in serving our community. So we'll talk about that a little later. Our consultants here, Tara and Marcella, have also reviewed some key city documents and made some recommendations on those. And there were several interviews done, 16 interviews with leadership team members and staff and city council members. So we'll be able to summarize some high-level findings from that. We also, outside of the Beta Agency's work, but we collaborated with our trainers to do DEI training based on the results of the polling we did with staff and the feedback we received on where they needed more information and knowledge. And So then, since then, we've been analyzing the data that we've received, and then we revised the online poll that's on the DEI Commission's webpage right now, and we'll be launching more robustly a communication campaign around that and our community engagement work this fall. So also this summer, we formed a DEI staff committee with Terrace Health, and we've been working on a charter document, community, and a community agreement, and just starting to explore what all this work means as a staff group. And we'll talk more about the relationship between the staff committee and your group in a few minutes. And really the goal is to do community outreach this winter and try to reach as many groups as we can. And there's really not a time limit on the work. So I think it's just important for us to take the time it takes to make those relationships and be persistent and trying to reach out to the different communities that are here. So that's the overview of the timeline. And I'm going to hand it over.
Are there any questions on the timeline and the work that's been done so far? Because I know it's a lot. So if there's any questions that we can address for you, it would be great before we get into why we landed on these recommendations and where we're going with the conversation today. We all feel good about the work? Okay, great. So, like Carolyn mentioned, there's been a lot of what we call discovery, really digging into policies, process, behaviors, temperature of the city politically, with the community, with also appetite to move the equity work forward in the community and with at the city level in leadership, but also in staff. And how do we move staff as community members into the work that we're doing and acknowledge their role in the work that we're doing? So you can't do equity work with one group in particular. There has to be some leading of strategies. And then there also has to be clear roles in who is going to be focusing their energy where, because it's just too much work for one particular group to do it all. This is why we recommended, based on all of the work that we've done so far that Carolyn has covered, to focus the staff committee and their DEI work really internally and their experience as staff. And that includes the hiring process, that includes policies that supports them in the workplace, that includes policies that also touch the public and procedures that touch the public. And really, how do they enhance those relationships within customer service realm to support the work that you're doing? So we see your main focus. This doesn't mean that you don't touch different pieces of DEI, but your main focus, your main mission and vision to be reviewing the policies and procedures that are drafted and that are introduced into the equity work that are public facing the most. And I say the most because there won't be the only ones, but the most, like really take as community members, really as the relationship holders of most community relationships, is taking a look at those policies and saying, is this going to be feeling good for community? Does this move the relationships forward? Can't we grow this work with these policies and these procedures? Yes or no, and where can we tweak them? Where can we better them for that relationship to continue to grow? We also want to make sure that you're engaging with community partners, so you have that time rather than pushing paperwork, engaging with community and bringing them into the work and building that relationship where they become ambassadors. As you've all mentioned, that there's some appetite to say, we want to build community ambassadors. Well, how do we focus your time to have the energy to do that? That's where we see value in the work that you're doing, so that you can build those relationships long-term, grow your network as a city of ambassadors, but also partners and community members that also feel like they own their work in the city. So they don't feel like, I just get called whenever there's an event and you want me to bring people, but they feel ownership over the work that's being done. So generally, that's where we saw a clear, not division, but focus in the roles and in the diversity and equity strategic plan, where we can say you'll have a healthy and balanced amount of work and focus to do, and so will the staff members. And then this way, you can grow the equity work throughout Mountlake Terrace.
And all of this recognizing there's so much to do and so much people want to do. You can't do everything at once.
Right.
You know, so it's a matter of thinking about what's the highest priority and what can you move, not the fastest, but what can you move most directly? Like what is within your wheel of control most directly, and focusing on that and moving on that. It's the same conversation that we've had with the staff group of, you know, what can staff directly work on? And how can they focus their energy on specific things that they can influence and they can really make a difference and see some significant progress. And then build on that over time, you know, so that those big things that everybody wants to see happen can be cumulative over time instead of trying to tackle everything at once, being very strategic.
This is kind of for us like at least I related to Canoe Journey. If you've ever witnessed Canoe Journey here, it takes a huge group to build a canoe, right? We come together and it's a long process. That's where we're at right now. We're building the canoe. That's the strategies, that's the plan, that's the rules, that's the engagement plan that we'll be rolling out next. And the charter, the staff charter, that gives you clear direction about how we're gonna build this canoe. And then we're gonna have to carry this canoe to the mouth of the river to get to the ocean so that we can get that fast pace movement that we're all looking for, right? We have to build this canoe right. And we have to put the energy in the right place to make sure that it's solid. We can get it and be an open sea, no matter what happens. We have a system that works, a system that's good for community, good for staff, good for leadership. Everybody understands where we're going and we don't get lost in the way. So that's the way that we're looking at how you build this system. So with that, do you have questions? Do you have concerns about the direction, or do you have ideas about other things that should be in your focus as the DEI Commission? Because this is the open discussion time. I'm gonna ask a lot of questions, and this is gonna help us finish building the structure of this community so that we can hand it over to you and you can get to work and be your part.
How do you get access? This is the question that's been going on since 2020. How do you get access to policies
How do you
as a commission to even get an idea of where they are, how they're shaped, or, you know, do they have an equity lens? Yes.
Are there particular policies that you're interested, or all policies across the board?
Well, in my mind, I think that, and we'll just take hiring, we'll take that one.
Uh-huh.
If that is skewed, then probably in every department, their policies are skewed, because HR is the conscience of the business. So if they're missing it, then everybody's missing it everywhere else, you know. But to be able to see that, or to, I mean, you know, we don't interact with city staff, so we don't know. You know, I know that when, for instance, well, I don't know, but it appears that, you know, when new jobs come available, and not necessarily the super high level jobs, but some of the lower level jobs, I'm not so sure that those opportunities are put out to groups that ordinarily don't get that information. You know, I know that one of the things that I had asked a few years back was, do you keep track of your flow count? You know, I know when I worked in a private company, if to get government money, and I was an HR manager, you had to have a flow count. And that flow count had better match, you know, what your logistics look like, your demographics look like, you know, so whether or not you hired folks, you better at least have been able to show that percentage wise, they were getting the information with having, you know, access to be able to at least consider working. And I remember asking that question, and I was told, we don't keep a flow on. So that was strike 1, 2, 3 for me. You know, so that's what I mean, you know, and that's just one example. You know, so normally when I see something that's on, that Ricky or somebody sends out, you know, I send it out, you know, to everything that I know about it. And when I don't know if that's happening by the city, you know, but so I try, and I know that a lot of times people go, oh, thank you, didn't know this was out there. So that's what I mean.
Yes. That's good information to hear from you as a desire of where you want to spend some of your time. That's a good area. I can't tell you exactly what the direct access to those policies are right now. I can tell you that it is one of the hiring, DEI hiring is part of what we're reviewing for the strategic plan. Because that's one of the very direct policies and procedures that you can influence to increase diversity and equity in the city.
It'll be tough.
Right? So I think that at the very least, at some point, there'll be a report back to you in terms of, in the strategic plan, here are the policies and procedures. And let me know if I'm talking out of place, but I think that's in our plan, to report back to you. Here are the policies and procedures that are gonna, again, we have a little bit of a snapshot of that. That we're gonna be addressing first, midterm level, long-term level, right? Here's, we're gonna kick off the work. Here's what's gonna have to come down the pipeline. Here's something that needs a lot more funding and a lot more planning. Just like we talked in our strategic planning day, where some things we can address immediately. And then some things we have to address maybe during budget process, maybe in the next year, strategic plan, and then some things are even longer term. It doesn't mean that they fall off the radar. They're still part of the plan. So this is good. Are there any other policies that you're interested to make sure that they're part of your role and your focus in the work as DEI commissioners?
I'm curious how often policies are reviewed. So like for the school district, they have to be in compliance with WASDA for the Washington State School Board Association. So they do, however often, they review all the all of their policies and procedures to see if they match or are in line with current protocols. And so I'm wondering what the city's process is for that. And if it would make sense to add our lens to that as they come up, or next time that work is done, or if it hasn't been done and has no plan, then we start with the oldest.
Yeah.
And work backwards.
Anybody else have any ideas about where you would like to focus some of your time as well? Do you feel it's relevant to the work that you want to do?
Will we know what kind of methods they're gonna be using to enhance community engagement and build relationships? I mean, because that's also something we're doing, so that we don't have, we aren't like, bugging certain groups, both of us going or something, so that'll be something that we'll be communicating about.
Yes, definitely. Part of our work after all this discovery is done and we've wrapped up all of the findings is finalizing an engagement plan for the city. And there comes the role for you, right? And also what does that look like between the responsibilities that you'll have in the engagement plan and staff and how they're gonna support you. So a little bit more of that, where does everybody fall into the plan? So that's definitely coming.
Does the DEI staff have any interest in sitting down with the DEI commission, having
the DEI staff committee?
I believe so, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that they brought up, that they would love to talk to you guys. And I think it was even raised that they would like to talk to you about having, maybe, I can't remember if they said a quarterly meeting or.
I don't think we really got to a point.
Didn't set on
They're like
a cadence.
still forming and norming, I would say.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, but they would like to have a relationship and a conversation that's ongoing.
And then for those conversations, how does that fit in with the city requirements for public meetings versus committee work?
oh, it would be a public meeting. I mean, if you're out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I guess that's what I'm wondering is there, space, or would it make sense to have subcommittee meetings?
Yeah.
Subcommittees to have discussions that are maybe more sensitive or that are, not for public conscience. I don't wanna
Right.
be sneaky, but I wanna be respectful about how to have some of the conversations. Because some of them are tough, like we opened our public meeting in January and we did not record all of the retreat.
Mhm.
mm-hmm,
So,
Yeah. Yes, those are all possibilities.
Okay.
yeah. This is all very true. This is all part of, believe it or not, the question that I was gonna ask you. Ideally, where is your ideal place for the DEI work to go in the city to improve it? Based on our chats back in January, based on the work that you've been doing from now, since then to now, based on the updates you've gotten, based on the climate of the city and where it's going, have you refined your vision of where you want the city to go to improve inclusion and equity and diversify work?
I think our focus has been on building new relationships and engaging community partners. We haven't been so much reviewing policies and procedures and things like that. And that might be different from the other column of enhancing community engagement and building relationships, where the DEI staff might be more involved in. What we look to build are long-term relationships and an understanding of those parts of the community that we currently don't have a connection with. And it might go here or we go there. We want to know Mountlake Terrace. And that might be, I don't know how different it is from DEI staff. In regard to the work that they do, they would generally probably meet up with community and consider that. So, in just the natural part of being out there in the community where they work, we get off on a different tangent altogether. Something might come up like this, and suddenly we're gonna be looking into the Native American issues. We invite somebody here to talk about it like that, so we'll be focused on the issues or the communities as it comes up.
I think also when we were doing the transit thing, we had actually a number of people come up and ask if there was a way to volunteer with us. And so I think getting some of the other community members involved in the work.
So say more, you were doing what for transit?
Well, we were manning the DEIC, we manned the city booth. And so we had all of our signage up and everything, and some people would come and talk to us about it, but there were people who.
For the grand opening. of,
Oh,
like,
yeah, the grand opening for the,
Yes.
yes, and so people came up, we had a number of people come up and ask if there was a way to volunteer with the commission. So I think that's something we haven't really explored that much, but would be,
Yeah,
finding ways to, for people to help with the work.
Definitely, engagement is for me is because, especially this past year, seeing situations like that, where we're in the booth and the variety of questions, the variety of people, and there's hearing how my fellow commissioners are answering. And you do realize that there are people that are pretty shy about coming and talk to us, right? Because not quite sure about what DEI is and all that. And we want to make sure, you know, that we can make the most of that engagement. Because like you said, we want them to go from just showing up at the festival to feeling some kind of ownership to it. And I think that's just that's that first place where I really learned being around this group how important that is.
It was interesting too, because there were a number of people that came up to the booth and addressed me. I don't know if you guys got this, but and in general, they were white citizens, but they came up very quietly and they said, thank you for what you're doing. Like they
Yeah.
were worried about being too open about it. And we did have one woman come up and ask us if we got a lot of grief from certain people about doing it. So those kind of things are interesting too, but I think getting other people in the community that might not understand what this is about or might be interested but feeling unsure about, you know, helping them understand what it's about too.
So your sense is that across citizens of Mountlake Terrace, there's still an uneasy feeling about what is DEI?
Or
What
about,
my role
or
is.
about whether it's
Can I
risky.
even speak
Yes,
up about it?
yeah,
Yes.
yes,
Right?
I was
Because
really,
it's so not
I
comfortable.
thought about it after I left and I'm like, none
Uh-huh.
of those people were talking very loud and they leaned in. Thank you. You know, and I thought, well, it shouldn't be so scary, you know, so.
I think we have a lot of multi-generational households in our community.
Yeah,
And there are some household beliefs that are not personal beliefs for everybody in our city.
that's,
And holding space for that in a public location, I think makes a difference.
You're trying to say something.
Well, I think two things. One, I think that you know, to her point, you know, about folks, you know, uneasiness. The common denominator though is that it's not just white people who
Yeah.
who don't feel easy with DEI. You know, Black people, Asians, you know, it goes right across the board. They all ask the same questions. Why? Do you really need this? What's wrong? Etc. Which, you know, to some people would shock them, which tells me that, or is proof that DEI isn't a black-white thing, okay, period. And that's what you have to sell, black-white thing. It's just one part of it. It's one page of the book, you know? And I think that the other thing that I was thinking is that, you know, I see, for me, I see this as, you know, we talk about the community engagement and they come to us. Well, what I would like to see is that we develop a relationship with the community, just like our mission statement says. We develop a relationship with the community and the city so that they don't have to come to us. You know, that we're that bridge where we are connecting the community and DEI staff or just the staff so that that community enhancement is possible, you know. I mean, I was sitting there thinking, City Hall, the city's gonna always be here. This group is going to change. Okay, the city's gonna, and the community is gonna change, but the core of the community is gonna be here. This is what's gonna change. This group right here, you know, so I'm sitting there thinking, in reality, I mean, we're building new relationships, but what we really, I feel, what we need to be doing is as we're building this relationship, we're not building them for this commission. We should be building them for that connection, you know, so that we can step back and, I mean, we've done a lot of things this year, just like that. You know, we introduced and then boom, you know, let it happen. So
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking about.
and that's a this whole year and the work that we've been doing and the work that will happen moving forward is not a project, it's not a one-off. It's a shift in how the city does business. It's a shift in how the city functions, and it's ongoing. You know, so this is incorporating DEI in some subtle ways and in some not so subtle ways into how the city lives and breathes. That's our goal, so that it's, when your seat is filled with somebody else, your legacy lives on, right? Because it's about that seat. And it's about finding somebody who fills it and continues the work, that baton is passed.
You know, it's like you said, Carolyn, you know, this whole comprehensive plan, it's got inclusion and equity lenses written through it. It's not an island, it's not one paragraph, you know, where they say it and then, you know, try to prove it. I mean, it's written, you know, throughout the entire, you know, project. That's
the key.
You know, it's like, you know, that's where we should look at each other and say, job well done, you know, because that's what the goal was from the get-go. You know?
That's a perfect, cause I was gonna ask, where do you wanna see the city go in the next 10 years? That's a perfect segue. You want that to go on, or is there any other things that the rest of you have thought about? Where do you want to see the city go in the next 10 years?
Well, I'd kind of like to see, I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get to this place as a society, but it would be really nice to not have to make this a specific extra thing and have it just be part of how we look at the world, you know, and so I feel like part of our thing is like when we were sitting at the booth at the, you know, transit opening, it's like, it's just sort of normalizing it for people. That, you know, this is the way to see other people and other cultures and see that we're a whole city full of really interesting people that all need to be served, you know?
Interestingly enough, it's actually doable.
Yeah.
And not maybe worldwide,
Right.
but hub-wide, so
Yeah.
Mountlake Terrace becomes a hub. And everybody, just kind of like how Seattle, everybody thinks of Seattle, right? There's liberal and not so liberal places in the state, and everybody identifies them already.
Mhm.
The reason is because there's been a cultural change in that area.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what we're building. That's that whole, you can't have that in 10 years here. People will know Mountlake Terrace, just like they know other cities for certain things. That could be the thing that you're known for with this work. It's not that far off. It's not so far off that you can't achieve it. It's actually more doable than not doable.
I feel like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I do see that as a possibility because
Yeah.
I actually, the engagement we had at the transit opening was really interesting. I thought just because there were people that showed interest. You know, we had DEI was written off over everything and you want to look at everything in the news. If that's just gonna make people go, you know, and not even approach the table, but that wasn't the way it was at all. Yeah.
That's really great to hear.
Yeah.
Any ideas, any other ideas where you would like to see Mountlake Terrace be in 10 years? Or are we all aligned on the vision, which is also great? That's great, because then that means that we're moving in the right direction, and it means that you have the people that you need at the table to make that happen.
I think the other thing that I would like to see Mountlake Terrace in 10 years is the residents of Mountlake Terrace comfortable with being involved in city happenings, you know, because that's non-existent in this city, despite of the diversity, you know. Just doesn't
So
happen.
is that like turnout to city events?
Turn out to city events, participation in city events, you know, it's a very diverse city, but if you go to city events, you won't see the diversity at all, other than the parade, and, you know.
And
the
the
and they
Juneteenth,
probably
yeah.
all came from, belittle it or something, you know what I
There were a
mean?
lot of people that came from that here,
You know,
but, and our Juneteenth event had pretty good attendance, I thought.
How do you think we can get there? What do you think is missing that they need to be able to feel comfortable?
I think that's where this whole bridging, 4 years ago, it was said to me that these city events aren't for us, quote unquote. That's what was told to me, by minorities in the community. One of the first thing that I was like, I didn't know what they was talking about, but I just moved here, and so that's what I heard, and I think that feeling has not changed yet, because really not a whole lot has been done to change it. I mean, we're trying, but your day of caring, your day of service, come out here for the Christmas tree lighting and see how much diversity you see. The last 2 years haven't been much.
And the parents of the kids that are performing. I will say that I saw more diverse families at the movie night that I went to. Than I had seen at other events. So I think more continued low risk opportunities to participate.
When those groups do come out, how is the city interacting with them? Or are they just kind of leaving them off to the side? Because that's what's gonna make that change. That's why it's for us, not me, but that whole word us. It's the city interacting with people that they know they've never seen before, in those situations. They can feel good, introduce themselves.
I saw a lot of bug spray sharing from the city staff. Like kids kept running over and borrowing it. Like it's small, it was very small, but it was a specific situation.
That's how it changes.
Yeah.
That's how it changes.
Yeah.
And food,
Yeah.
always food,
Also,
always.
I know. Any other ideas? Based on the work that you've been doing, that you have thought of, like, the materials, is it the type of events, is it, we heard now very specific, right? The interaction of the staff that are present, what is their interaction with those community members, which is one that can be addressed because that's why we have trainings, right? And we build that emotional intelligence, we build up the soft skills, we build up cultural intelligence, and then that can happen. What else do you think is missing from what you've seen to make that connection? If anything comes to mind, so I'm just curious, because you are the ones out there, right? And I could look at it from an expert level, right? And I can give you a list of probable things, and I might hit, I don't know, 7 out of the 10. But what has been your experience with this community? Because every community is different.
Accessible sidewalks.
That's what I want.
Yep. They're expensive.
Tell me more.
They, we put in, so some of Mountlake Terrace has sidewalks, but not all of Mountlake Terrace, but Mountlake Terrace is far better than Lake Edmonds in terms of volume of sidewalks, but they're expensive to do, and they're a pain in the butt, and they mess with the roads, and everybody dislikes it, but it makes it more accessible for, people with mobility issues, for pushing strollers, for taking out the garbage. And then having really clear education about where to put your yard waste and your garbage, but not blocking the sidewalk. Without having it cost a ton more. I know that's like a pipe dream, so it has to take a long time because it can't be cheap or good. So it can't be all three. So it needs to just take a long time, but, yeah, affordable, continuing affordability.
So other than building relationships, where do you see where you as commission can help get us there? So I know you're hard at building relationships, I know you're hard at going and seeking folks and starting those conversations. Is there anywhere else you think that you can make this mission strong?
I think if you gave us policies, we would look at them and give insight, but we need somebody to tell us what to look at. Cause otherwise, I mean, the RCWs are huge. We can have thoughtful conversations about things.
Yeah.
And bring different perspectives to them.
I just have a question for you, Logan. When you talk to people about that, do you, have you
About that
ever,
what?
about not feeling like the events are for them? Have you ever asked them specifically about what kind of things would make you more comfortable at an event? Or, I mean, do you think that's something we should actively explore?
Well, I think it's kind of like what we've already been talking about. I mean, you know, when a minority comes into an event where traditionally they haven't been, and no one makes them feel welcome.
Right.
You know, I mean, many of us can speak to going to places
Oh, yeah,
and nobody speaks to you.
yeah,
Nobody speaks to you, you know, and so you're not, that's why, in a
I
nutshell,
mean, I think
you're
that-
already walking into it wondering if someone's gonna tell you or ask you what do you want.
or what are you
You know,
doing
what are
here?
you doing
Yeah.
here? You know, but then it's a public event and then no one talks to
Well,
you.
maybe that's part of our role is, I mean, is to be at these things and be the people who go up and say, I'm so glad to see you here.
Well, you know, I think you're right, and
But I mean, we need more than just us doing that.
right, but what I think what we do is we say, hi, this is Carolyn. That's what we do, you know, not, hi, I'm William. Glad you're here. Who cares that William's here? This is Carolyn, you know, this, you know, that bridge, you know, that's,
How about those band? Yeah.
you know,
William and Harry.
exactly, you know, I think I think, God, that the proclamations that we've been involved in this year has been unbelievable, and I think this commission should continue to do deep dives into how they can bring different groups into City Hall to meet the council
that
in the
does
city
help, yeah.
who've never been in City Hall
Right.
before. Because everybody we brought in so far has never walked into this building before, you know,
Mhm.
them and their
Yeah.
families,
Well,
ever.
when we had Children's Day, but then we had that was diverse and it was young people that had.
I mean,
Yeah.
and then, you know, that was when during Ramadan, you know, and just a few weeks ago, we had a woman I brought didn't even know what City Hall was. She'd been here 10 years, you know? So being able to be involved in that process, which we weren't 2 years ago until you got here, you know, I think you know, we probably don't sell that. I guess maybe a little bit because some people do get a hold of us and say,
Yeah, we have had that happen recently.
yeah, you know, but at least they're reaching out. I mean,
But you know, the more we do it, the more people might be interested in saying, hey, I wanna come up front and I wanna be recognized, or we wanna be recognized.
That's very effective to
Mhm.
say, hi, we look alike, so I know you're gonna talk to me. Let me introduce you to the mayor.
yeah,
Let me introduce you, and you say their name and their role in the city. And that in their brain is like, I have access now. Right? Because it's not just, oh, the secretary, like, not to downplay titles, but that's the access that we've been lacking as people of color, right? Access to the leadership, access to the decision makers. That's what William is talking about when they say those things are not made for us. Because we haven't been at the decision making table. But how do we get them there? Is we make that access, and it starts with that introduction at those events. And that's another training though,
Mhm.
because we don't wanna be the creepy people that just see one person of color and then
No.
everybody's like, ah.
yeah.
Because then, I think the first one,
I'm out.
guys be like, I might die today.
Yeah.
Like, you know, scary movie scenario. You don't want
because
that
we don't
either.
know what people's experiences have been with all this stuff. It's like, you wanna,
Yeah, it's that balance, but I think that's a great, very intentional thing where we can say in our engagement plan, in our customer service, new procedures. This is what we're doing, this is how we're serving community.
Yeah.
From now on. It's not, do you want to, it's not, do you feel good about it, it's, this is how we do it. Right, and we all get on board and we, as commissioners, as ambassadors of this work, you show them, this is how we do it.
You know, in regard to ambassadors, I think the ultimate thing that we can do with engaging community partners is to find those ambassadors in those parts of the community that we're not in touch with, or people that if something comes up here, like you mentioned the last time, something comes up here, we're gonna be, let's talk to this person, get a hold of other people, the network
Yeah.
just moves out from there quicker than it does now. And I really think that that's how this commission was started at the city level. When they realized that they didn't have that, and it was really important for them as they went into planning for the next 20 years to get that kind of engagement. That's just fundamental to building and planning. And so the commission comes on board and it becomes the arm of the city to be able to accomplish those kinds of things. So the ultimate thing we can do is to find those people in those communities that can become part of this network.
Yeah. To be at this meeting, even if there's no public comment, just so they know what's happening. And they're having already a role of how does the city move, right? Maybe we can get them to a city council meeting here or there so that they also know where leadership is going, but if we can get them to the table and participate actively, I think is where you wanna go, not just at events, but on a regular basis. Do I know where to go for information to see the progress? I heard at the at so event, you're talking about our comp plan and you're gonna come out with the decisions and so date. I'm gonna go to the meeting to see what came out there, right? So I think beyond just the events, it's civically, how are they engaging in the decisions? How are they a part of those decisions? So, in the ambassador role, other than bringing them to the table, what else?
I love your expressions.
I speak.
I do too.
But in this ambassador role,
Next to you, because I have to go like this.
I know.
You need to sit over here.
I'll just share this
Say.
one thing, you know, I was at a city event recently. And because I got a hurt arm, I couldn't participate. So I got there 2 hours into the event. And there was this black teenager that was involved in the event. It was off on his by himself. And so I asked the person, has this person participated before? And they looked up, I don't know. And then it dawned on me that no one had spoken to this person the whole time they were there. So I went over and just, boom, 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 and no one, he lit up. And this whole thing that we're talking about, you said, it has to be a given, it has to be a given. And it didn't necessarily have to be him that the folks said hello to. That should have happened to everybody that came to that event.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it might have, but it didn't happen to that kid who goes to Mountlake Terrace High School. You know what I mean? And I when I was walking back home, I was just thinking, man, because, and I'm wondering if that hadn't happened, would that person have just said, no, I'm not gonna even attend another event, because no one said hello to me, no one welcomed me. So I guess this isn't for me.
kind of brave of him
I guess this isn't for me.
to be there and
Right.
still working if nobody had said anything.
And he was ecstatic doing what he was doing, but, and then he got more ecstatic if someone said hello to him. Then another person came over. I didn't ask them to come over, they came over because they were gonna have, refreshments. And I just think, You
And
know,
then
that's
we
my
find
point.
ourselves, that's when we find ourselves saying, youth don't wanna get involved. Well,
Mhm.
have we involved them? Why don't they wanna get involved? Right, is what have we done to get them involved? How have we made it a place where they can get involved? We can't just say, well, you don't wanna get involved. How far have we gone out of our way to make sure that they get involved? Because they're on a different level than we are. We folks can come to a meeting, sit, look through an agenda, have the conversation, answer the question directly that we're asked. But what do they need to get to that point? Where have we gone out of our way as adults to get kids involved? So ultimately, this is all for them, so.
I used to take a group of young people up to Capitol Hill every year to do a hill day they were all homeless youth who were from different shelters, different programs around the country. And we would go to the Hill and they would meet with senators and representatives and tell their stories and advocate for policies and budget. And it was amazing and I loved it. I spent a week with them working on their pitches and stuff. And what I learned was that, and these were kids who were largely kids of color, LGBTQ. These are kids who were pushed out of their homes. You know, they were on the fringes of society, literally, like just literally homeless. And when we would go up to Capitol Hill, they would have this real anxiety about walking into the building. So like, we're not allowed to be here. We're not allowed to be here. This is not where we're going to be. And it would always, you know, we'd go through this process of, you know what? These people, they work for you. They work for you. And then I would work with other young people who come from very privileged backgrounds and feel entitled, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but they feel entitled to have conversations with mayors and governors and state representatives because their parents raised them to be equals with other people and to not be intimidated by a person's position. It's like, I can walk up to Carolyn and I can have a conversation with her, human to human, and it's fine. But there's so much breaking down of invisible barriers that needs to happen. And that's what we're talking about, is like starting to model that, starting to literally dismantle those barriers with even the smallest things that we're doing that will dismantle those barriers for generations to come. So even little things like manning a booth at a transit event eliminated a barrier. And we just keep stacking it up, reaching out to a kid in an event so that he knows that he's welcome. And the next time he walks into an event like that, he's now going to be more comfortable having a conversation with somebody. Like that's where we want to take the city, is that kind of generosity of spirit and professionalism. Like, this is just how we show up. Everybody is a resident. Everybody has the right to be here. We want civic engagement. We encourage civic engagement. And we show up in these different ways. I think
I have like 2 more quick questions.
I was gonna say,
Because
I
I
think we're running
need
out of
these
time.
questions. Yeah, we are running out of time, so I'm gonna like lightning rounds. The first one, you all mentioned that you already mentioned a couple of ways of how you want to work with the DEIC staff committee, right? You want to have some kind of cadence of meetings, some kind of subcommittee meetings. Is there any other way that you envision yourself working alongside the DEI staff committee? Maybe it's reviewing policies together, maybe in those subcommittees, having those discussions, updates. Things like that, making sure that you all are walking parallel in the work you're doing.
Absolutely, I think that, what we know, they should know. What they know, well, because they got access, we should know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe it's the chairs and the co-chairs, the vice chairs sitting down together, you know, that way it doesn't have to be a televised meeting, you know, but you know, I mean, that should be happening, in my opinion, you know, and, where you're really tuned into one another, and it can filter through what needs to speak, you know, whether we can get the summary,
Mm-hmm.
all that sort of thing, but
Okay.
absolutely.
Might be valuable to have a regular date, like every year that DEI staff committee could come here and we would go there, or just, you know, the chair and the vice chair or something like that, that there would be this regular, that we would build a regular relationship or a relationship built on that regularity. That, you know, we're regularly connected, so we're gonna attend meetings, maybe not necessarily to participate in it, but just to be there and field questions. You know, they were here, we would probably have some questions of them,
Mm-hmm.
vice versa.
Is there a pecking order in terms of protocol of how we should be engaging with members of that staff, of the committee?
So this committee is very new. And they literally had their first meeting today where Tara and I did not lead. And I actually left the room for half the meeting. So, I will just say that they haven't like formed enough yet to understand fully their responsibilities. But the charter is that they're self-directed. And so there's not like chair and a vice chair or a leadership team. So they basically rotate roles as facilitator, note taker, and they jointly develop their agendas. So it's a relatively small group right now and they're self-selected. So I think as we get into, I think, you know, we need to build the strategic plan to know what our priorities are because there's so many different directions we can be diving into, but Jeff Knighton, our city manager, is gonna be focusing on the personnel policies this fall, hopefully, or this winter. So I think that there'll be an opportunity to start, you know, engaging on that. But outside of that, I think we do, you know, once we have the strategic plan prioritized, we'll be able to start peeling off, like, these are a couple things we can start working on this coming year. You know, we have to figure out how much we can all handle and do we need expertise to help us with this? And so I think that there definitely could be ways to do that. But I would be happy to organize a meeting, you know, in November, December, just to do a meet and greet and to kind of get to know each other and maybe talk about what your work plan is and help them understand what you're working on. Because these are folks, you know, I think once we get into the actual work, we're gonna be pulling people in that aren't even on the DEI staff committee, right? So if we're working on community engagement plan, for example, there's people in almost every department that work in community engagement, and you met a lot of them through the comp plan, but those are just the planners, you know, then there's people in engineering and there's people in, you know, other areas that do outreach work. And so I think we're gonna have to think broadly about like, what does it mean to do community engagement? Who holds relationships? Does it mean you're actually having a public meeting, or does it mean you just happen to know a lot of people in the community because you work at the front counter, you know, like, or you work at the recreation pavilion and you meet all the groups that come and they want to rent the facilities, you know, I mean, it can be looked at in such a different way. So I think like we do, like, I think in this work, a lot of times we ask the question, who are our stakeholders? And we have to ask that internally and not just assume, oh, it's a community engagement person. No, it's not, like, we're all doing this work in different ways, and so, yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
It's there, but-
no, because that's all where we're going.
Yeah.
It's figuring it out. As much as you're figuring out how you're gonna fulfill your role, they're figuring out how they're gonna fulfill their role. And then how does all that fall into the citywide strategic plan, and what other roles do we have to fill there? And who's gonna fulfill them?
And,
So,
and I love where all of the commission has gone with, I mean, in the past couple of years in particular, I mean, I wasn't here before then, so I can't really attest to that, but just how much work you've done in the community building work, and, that is also the goal of city staff, and it's not to replace you, it's just like what I think William said. You all will change over time, and the city has to maintain those relationships over time, so we need your help. Yes, and we also need to know those people, so, just, it's on both of our work plans because of that, right? So,
Yeah.
and I think if you think of this work, like the plan, like maybe you're more familiar with the planning commission or something like that, because we just went through the comp plan, but several different staff will go present to the planning commission about different topics, depending on what they're talking about, you know, like planner Sarah might go and talk about, a zoning change, and then Jonathan will go talk about the comp plan, and then, the new planner might, Myrna might go and talk about a process change or something, you know, so there's always somebody different in front of them. It's not always just like the director. So, it doesn't always have to be me, right? So I guess that's where I'm going is as we move forward with some of these programs and projects, that maybe one of the people on a committee that's working on a policy change or a program change could be the one that's coming to present to you, like Laura Reed has with the tree program.
Yeah.
So how do you see yourself working with council on achieving the goals that you have for the city? Have you given that some thought, or are there some ways that you're already working with city council to move the DEI vision forward?
My impression is, I mean, she's doing it right now, I'm taking the notes and it's appearing, with the city council, we have the summary every year where we go over what we're planning for the year and what we've accomplished. If they're able to take a look at that. Something like that, I think that came up would be something I think that we're gonna want the city council to take, we got to talk about it somewhere, but I think those kinds of things get moved along, and so it's a tentative relationship, but I think they trust us with the work that we've done so far. That we continue to do those kinds of things. I don't know if they're expecting more than that, you know?
Are there ways that you
Well,
want
let me
to
answer
work
that
with them
question.
more?
Okay. I know that at least 6 of the 7 would like us to be more personally involved with them in terms of just building a relationship. You know, they all, like I said, it's only one I haven't spent any time with, just talking to, but coffee, come out to lunch, give me a call. I've had a few stop by the house, you know, at functions, pull us aside. We want to hear what we got going on, or what's in our mind, you know, what's in our hearts. And at the same time, they want to share what's in theirs with us on a personal level, as far as the DEI. You know, all this formal stuff is gonna come out anyway. It's being documented, you know. What they want to know is, you know, what does your feet feel like when it gets wet? That's what they wanna know.
So what you're saying is that they want a relationship
Yeah,
with you.
absolutely.
Just like you're building relationships with community members,
Absolutely.
they want to see a
Yeah,
relationship.
they've been saying that for 4
Commission,
years.
council.
You know, in the beginning, they were blaming us because we didn't have a relationship with them. You know? And then, well, you know, that's what the complaint was. You know, go back and look at some of the minutes. Yeah. So that's what, you know, and they always say, they always say, you all should not be so afraid of us. And then ask yourself the question, are you kind of? You know, because you don't reach out to them, or they don't reach out to you.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. You're not looking for it, deep down, you know, figure out what your IQ is, just wonder how can I help you?
Right,
Yeah.
that's a good step. You have the procedure.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I've not known that.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's a great start. If you have a relationship, you'll more likely than not be able to collaborate on something. So,
I'm like always like sometimes embarrassed, not embarrassed, but you know, if I'm at a function and like the mayor or Steve or Rotel, any one of them, you know, and the first thing they do is they introduce you to everybody they know, and you say, "This is the DEI commissioner," you know, and because that's what they want to do. They want to be able to do that. They really want to be able to do that. I don't say embarrassed. I just, you know, it's I don't know what I feel. Just like, yeah. You know what I mean? You know, yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, but that's what
That's
they
what
do.
it is.
You know,
Yeah.
so give them that opportunity.
Yeah,
You know.
well, that's a good place to start. I know Tara needs to share some, we want to be able to share with you some of the things that we've been finding in this whole time with staff. So we want to, so you have some insight into the work that's been happening in the background, in addition to the work we've done with you.
And I will try and go quickly, but not so quickly that you can't understand me. Okay, so we went through a discovery process that involves staff surveys, a staff survey to the entire staff, interviews with some key personnel, and then document reviews. So the staff survey went out to about 130 people. We had more than 80 responses, which was good. Not everybody responded to all of the questions, but we ended up having probably 60% of all of the questions answered. So we got a pretty good sample on the responses for the survey. For the interviews, as Carolyn said, we interviewed 16 different people from all the different departments. So we got a good cross-section of kind of perspectives and lived experience, from leadership to people who are in like admin roles. And the document review, we looked at everything from websites to brochures, poster boards, all kinds of things, but we really focused on policies and procedures. So we looked at HR policies. We looked at the handbooks, we looked at the purchasing policies, we looked at some of the zoning codes and things like that. And for what may appear to be obvious reasons, we did detailed recommendations on the personnel policies on the handbook, because there were quite a few things that we felt deserve some attention. So, the barriers that we identified, the key barriers that we identified, is that there's inadequate training of leaders. People are typically have not been trained in DEI or anything resembling DEI. So there are some folks who have taken it upon themselves because they're really passionate about it to go out and learn. But those people were kind of few and far between. There are other people who have joined the city more recently, who have good education in DEI, but they're rare. The majority of folks don't know anything about DEI. There's quite commonly an attitude of like, if we just treat each other well, it's all fine. We don't really have a problem. So like a real lack of awareness of like, people don't know what they don't know. You know, and if they don't have a problem, there is no problem. Second was that, attempts to improve equity really need follow through. So like good intentions with like declarations, proclamations, things like that, but no action to back it up. That really needs to happen. There need to be, genuinely culturally relevant programming, not, activities or events that are tokenistic or appear to be diverse and don't actually include diversity. Quite a few people called out bias in customer service, that it really depends on who you are as to what kind of experience you have with the city. As you have highlighted for us. And then inconsistent application of policies, both for residents and for staff within the city. So again, depending on who you are, you might get preferential treatment, versus somebody else. So when we did the survey, there were a couple of things that stood out. The good thing was that a lot of people agree that DEI is important. So most people agreed with the statement, DEI is important for a healthy workplace and thriving community. Yay, this is good. And when I say most people, I mean like close to 90% of staff. So that's good. They also agreed that their work was meaningful and that they can contribute to DEI. That is also good, because willingness is something that you can't train. Like, that has to come innately. What staff did not agree about, is feeling supported in their work and their advancements, and, leadership commitment to DEI. So that's definitely, a focus area. Becky. From the survey, we also learned that city staff, identified 4 priorities that they thought, were really important to provide more equitable and inclusive city services. Communications and engagement, safety, housing, I guess we slipped in a 5th, food security, and then affordability in general. These are probably not really surprising to any of you, because these are issues that Mountlake Terrace is feeling, pretty significantly, and it's things that we've talked about tonight. So to improve communication and engagement, staff said that they would like to focus on sharing information about services with low-income households, to focus on providing opportunities to build trust and community. So, you know, being able to do events where folks feel welcome and invited, to help residents understand how to participate in the civic process, participating in commissions, volunteering, etc. And they would like to be able to inform residents about how they can share feedback with staff and council. So there really is an appetite on the part of staff to have a partnership with the community and to have more of a conversation and dialogue on an ongoing basis, which is really great, because that means we have something that we can really build on. So our recommendations, and these aren't our full recommendations. These are some really focused recommendations that we find are particularly pertinent for you guys. We do recommend that all city employees are trained to provide high quality customer service to everyone. Focusing on helping employees, interact with every single resident equitably is a way to incorporate DEI into the city without getting bogged down in arguments about DEI. So this is a very pragmatic recommendation based on understanding that there's a gap, right? Like we have a lot of people who, again, don't know what they don't know, who believe if they don't have a problem, there is no problem. This is a way to move things forward while that other thing is being addressed and to significantly improve experiences for the community in the meantime. We also recommend that the development of cultural programming is broadened to key internal and external stakeholders and includes multiple commissions. So rather than sitting with just one commission, it involves multiple people. We suggest that the roles and responsibilities of people leading DEI work is clearly identified so that you know how you're working together and who's doing what. So as I think you were saying, Patricia, or Teresa, sorry, that, you know, like who's going out to different community members and doing those interactions. And then we also suggested creating an ongoing budget for DEI work, with accountability metrics. So it's not just having a budget, it's having a budget and saying, we're gonna use this budget for this thing. And we're going to try and move the needle in this way. Any questions on these? We suggest creating goals to increase the percentage of city dollars that are contracted with small businesses led by women and people of color. This is a really pragmatic way, again, that the city can put its money where its mouth is, literally. Carolyn added these great graphics. These are examples of much larger organizations that have very large programs that invest in WIMBY businesses. Mountlake Terrace does not have the infrastructure to do this level, but being able to do certain things like directing people to these, maybe hosting a webinar once or twice a year to inform businesses that are in this category of like, how do you apply for a contract with Mountlake Terrace? Just, you know, little things that can make a big difference to lowering those barriers. Promoting contracting opportunities to non-traditional suppliers to encourage diversification of contracts, particularly to businesses owned by local residents, is also a way to start diversifying and keeping money in the community, always a good thing. And to offer the training and technical assistance that I just mentioned to businesses in the area.
Oh, great, that's the last one.
And then there are a handful of recommendations that do speak to some of the things that were raised earlier about staff, HR policies, things like that, that will be in the final report when it comes out. So, yeah. Questions? Did I go too fast?
I have a quick question on the 4-5 goals that you have, you know. Safety, are those in the order of what they thought was important? Communications, was that like the number one, safety the number two, or did they just get put in there that way?
Yeah, this one. Number 11, I was gonna say, I don't wanna misspeak, but I believe this one was in order. I think actually both of these were in order.
Okay.
I think they were ranked.
And the reason why I asked that question, and I
Yeah.
brought it up, when I saw this presentation, that you did, to say, safety is number two, whereas the comp plan group, when they do their surveys, they consistently, safety is somewhere down here, like number 7. I think you might have, I mentioned it, and to me, that was saying, you're talking to two different, you're missing groups. Safety is way down here, and now when you talk to folks, it's number 2.
Yeah.
So,
The difference also in why that will tend to happen, even though the conversation may be the same. One, they are two very different groups. This is staff and their perception from the work that they do and how their role plays into the community, right? So they have an insight into what happens in the back of programs, resources, planning. So they're thinking about it from that perspective. And they're also thinking about it based on the survey, is how does my work impact the DEI thing? So where can I provide some resources, or where can I improve this, right? And on the comp site plan, we're talking to the general public, and how we phrase the questions or how we lead into those conversations is very different. It's a different focus, right? With the staff, it was like, we are improving DEI. We are working on a strategic plan. This is how your job, role, experience every day might change. So they're looking at it and they're going in with their own belief system in that sense. But the general public is like, here's how your city might change. So you might not interact with all the pieces of how the city is gonna change. It might not be a pain in your shoe, all of the time, versus it's your job, it's a daily experience that you're gonna have from now on. So that's why you get those different priorities between two very different groups. So not surprising, on our end, not surprising that they fall in different ranks across the board. It's important that all 5 make it up there. And it's not like everybody voted for one thing as being the priority. That would be concerning.
Or focusing.
Yeah.
Other observations or questions?
No?
So our next steps, we are finalizing the report for Carolyn and, working on the outreach plan. Get that over to Carolyn as well, and then,
Draft.
the draft, yes.
Draft
Yep.
engagement plan.
I was gonna say, I think my brain just hit shut off time.
Draft. We wanna make sure it's right before we hit go on it, right? So there's more review. There's, and the review level, just so you understand, it's not just, does it look good on paper, but is it achievable? Do we have the infrastructure? Can we pull the infrastructure together to pull this off? Do we have the means?
And when we look at short, medium, and long term, is it feasible? I had a third thing and my brain hit shut off as I was speaking.
Mine is almost all in Spanish right now.
Oh, great.
That's how you know.
You can try.
Yeah, it's all good. It's been a long day.
Well, thank you for the presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You guys are doing good work.
And thanks for spending the evening with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
One of the things I was gonna chat with the commission about next is our engagement for the plan. So if you wanted to just stay and if you have thoughts that you wanna share.
Most absolutely.
Can I just borrow it?
Yes.
Right. Scott, this is the most disorganized I've been for any meeting since I started. I was apologizing earlier for that. So I don't know my.
Good, we're following.
Okay, so as I mentioned, we did our internal outreach, if you want to call it that, engagement with our staff, council, and all of you. And we are now looking at doing our outreach, which you started helping us with this summer with our tabling events and telling people about the poll. We don't have a lot of responses on that yet. But we really haven't launched a campaign yet, and so I need to work on a web page and some sort of way to advertise this, some branding or whatever to make it a little more appealing for people to engage with us. So this is just the intro to the poll, which is on a link on your web page right now. So I've started to do some thinking about how we do outreach this fall. And again, sorry, my PowerPoints are usually more interesting than this, but here we are. I would like to organize your typical workshop here probably at City Hall on October 22nd or 23rd, if that date works for most of you or anyone who wants to participate.
October 23rd is a huge town hall
Oh.
with many legislative districts
Oh.
for Edmonds School District
Okay.
at Edmonds Woodway.
Oh,
So
that's
they
awesome.
have legislators coming and for North Shore, Everett, Mukilteo,
Okay.
Shoreline, Edmonds, would not
Wow.
compete.
You don't
that
want to be
day.
anywhere near that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So should we do it
Oh,
after the
okay.
election?
Be near that
So
date.
what?
Yes,
Maybe like November
Yes.
15th or
Yeah.
12th?
I think that, yeah,
Yeah, let people get past the crankiness of that night.
yeah.
Okay,
Be cranky in November.
all right, so let's,
Well, that might, create more opportunities for engagement with feelings after the election. It might be different.
Yeah.
Than before.
all right, that's great. So public meeting,
So
November,
19th or 20th.
I mentioned the 12th or 13th, the 20th is your commission meeting.
Yeah. I was gonna say, that's awfully close to
And
Thanksgiving.
the 11th is a
Yeah.
holiday, so maybe the 13th.
Yep,
Yeah. Okay, we'll we'll put that on the calendar. I also met with the library and asked them if they'd be willing to partner on a workshop at the library because they draw different folks to the library. So we were brainstorming the other day about maybe we could provide either a speaker or an activity that's something to learn about another culture that might attract people to, like, I'm gonna get to learn something tonight. And after the activity or the speaker, we have a breakout conversation about the questions. And so we haven't really, we were gonna go home and do some research on like the Washington Humanities of Washington, the speaker list. But then Ruth was also just brainstorming about like a craft or an activity that could bring families together, and we could, if they're old enough, if the kids are old enough to participate, they could participate in the conversation, and we could also do like the storytelling in another room or something for younger children. So I just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
Drum circle.
Maybe
Do a drumming class.
Oh,
The drum circle.
some interesting, that reaches a lot of different cultures too.
For dance, if you're already working with for dance, they
Oh.
used to have a, I forget his name. I don't. in several county circles, but there is a local gentleman that comes to Verdant and was doing drum circles there, and their class would always fill up.
Okay.
And so community members around here know
Mhm.
that he'll do, classes, and it pulls, at least for the class, there's like a max of 20, and then there's always a waiting list for like 50. So you just do an open community circle for drumming. Yeah.
Are you
Cool
also
like
looking at
that.
November? Is this November?
If the date's flexible, we just have to wait for the art show to be over.
Well, okay.
We haven't set a date.
Yeah, do
Because
the first,
November is Native American
Mhm.
month.
Mhm.
See, because you do have your indigenous peoples there.
the library is not available on November, the first Wednesday of November, because I reserved it today for CPR.
CPM.
That could go really well with drumming circle, actually.
120 staying alive.
And so, yeah, and I did reach out to Seal at Verdant, I think she'll be there this weekend. We just keep missing each other, so we need to just connect, maybe Saturday we can talk more. But I think they, when I reached out, I think she thought I was asking what other organizations they had connections to, and I was thinking more like, well, they have classes and like community people that come to them, and so could we?
Yeah, they have cooking
Those,
classes, they have
like-
health classes, they have, I don't know if the drum circle is happening right now, but they did have their last class in June. So they have the cooking, they have the health class, they have the fitness classes. They have the child education, like parents educating their children, like positive. What's it called?
You know what?
Positive,
I'm thinking
positive
in Spanish.
discipline, it's,
It's,
yeah,
Yeah, positive discipline.
positive parenting.
Classes, they also have a women's, like, interpersonal growth group, and then they're trying to pull together a man's group. So they have quite a few
Yeah,
classes all the
so I
time.
was hoping that like we could partner with them,
Mm-hmm,
advertise to their community,
mm-hmm.
folks in particular that live here, but, you know, it's not
Remind me how big is this pole? How long?
the poll.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 8 or 10 questions. I didn't bring a copy with me. But, I mean, we can
We can do
modify
short.
for a workshop, or we can also just, I think some of the ideas I had was, like, if we're doing intercept kind of conversations, is there a way? I haven't quite gotten council to give me permission to use incentives, but I think if we share the community engagement plan with them, we could talk about the importance of like providing a gift card to someone on the spot, like if we had the iPad with us and we had the survey and they're like, would you mind sitting here for a few minutes and taking the survey and give people gift cards? That would be-
So something we used to do with El Centro de la Raza, we did it for, wasn't a comp plan, it was a transportation project. But it was, the light rail at Speaking Health.
Mhm.
Sent it to me, I'm like, it's on me back. What we did was work with El Centro de la Raza, partner with them, because they have a lot of programs, right? So they have a lot of community meetings, a lot of, workshops already,
Mhm.
like the ones that Verdant has.
Mhm.
So what we did is provided raffle offs, things that they can raffle and say, at the end of your workshop, can you give us 10 minutes? And then ask everybody who attended your workshop, take this poll and then raffle something off. And so, and they did that for, I believe, something like 50 workshops.
Mhm.
So then we got a lot of feedback, right? Because they're already there. But it's having that partnership with them to say, can you take 10 of your minutes or 5 of your minutes?
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
because that's also a very low effort way.
yes,
But show me something to raffle.
yes. And that's how we do.
Mm-hmm.
So I did reserve a spot December 5th with, cops and clergy, and I talked to Matt Porter about, inviting the clergy and a handful of their parishioners who, are members who live in Mountlake Terrace to come that day if possible. And then we could have breakout group conversations, so if anyone wants to join me and help facilitate those conversations, that would be awesome. Well, would love to get in the high school, but, I emailed Patricia, I believe, about this, and I don't think I've heard back.
So I have an in with the principal over at Mountlake Terrace.
Okay,
Chris's aunt was his secretary at where the school he came from. And so, when she was here visiting, she had them over to Rosalie's house and they had a meal.
nice.
So I'm gonna see him again.
Okay, and the other thing
Curriculum
is,
night is. Weekend.
yeah, if you don't mind following up.
Yeah. And Rebecca is back.
Yes.
But they are still the high school is still finalizing schedule changes and they had to add new staff.
And position changes.
Yeah.
You know, like, one thing you might wanna do when if you connect with the principal, is find a way for that connection to have Patricia included in it. That way, the principal knows that she's part of this table, and when you're not there, maybe this group can help her be successful with this group, because now they know that she's part of all this conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
The other thing I was thinking about too was middle schools. I don't think it's that fact it's too young
Not at all.
to have these conversations.
They already are.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yes, I can connect you with the middle school counselor.
okay,
They have a new principal and assistant principal at Bar Terrace.
The CTE program teachers are usually really good connections as well at high schools. They're very,
Translate CTE.
sorry, career technical education.
yeah. Is that what Rebecca and her colleagues? are
No.
working on?
So the CTE program at the high school is like, they partner with Boeing and they build
Oh,
houses and they
yeah.
do T-Mobile and
I see.
the hospital.
Yeah, it's gonna be like health occupations and, depends on the district, but it's gonna be. Yeah, yeah, but they tend to be much more practically oriented and civically
Mhm.
focused.
Okay.
And the teachers are very like, get her done. So they're great to work with.
Okay. These other groups I have reached out to, I just haven't finalized. So, I'm gonna continue to be persistent on those. I did want to chat too about how we can reach out to people more. And so, like, I know we know a lot of groups, but we also don't know a lot of other groups. And so I had this idea about whether some of you would be interested in doing short videos, inviting people to engage with us in this conversation. Are we not looking at Williams? I gotta go. Oh, well, I had it in the reverse as a marketing tool, but you had it as people should submit videos?
No, I just wrote down, video as a means to communicate. I was thinking
Yeah.
about, as a means to communicate to people, like, I think we were talking about public comments,
Yeah.
or whatever we was talking about with City Hall and getting people tuned into, I was talking about, you was talking about people talking, what a lot of people don't realize that when they come to City Hall and they do public comments, 90% of the people walk out pissed because no one responds to them,
Yeah.
So if there was a video that explained to them what that process looks like and what it feels like,
Right.
and that video as a means of communicate
Yeah.
that people see,
Well, there's lots of videos we can make, but
well,
for sure, that's a
yeah.
great idea.
But that was just an idea,
Yeah.
in lieu of that, a video where people see us, participating, engaging, a means to engage, that's what the whole part of it
Yeah.
is here, to share. the
Maybe we
bridge.
could have a funny balloon.
Yeah,
Mm.
that would be awesome.
So,
Funny video.
Oh, yeah.
tangent, City of Edmonds and Linwood both do like citizen, like, City 101.
Yes.
And they meet the police, they meet the fire department.
That's on my work plan. I was supposed to do it this year. but-
Next year's looking real good.
What's not on your work plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this was just more about how do we market the strategic plan and getting people to either engage with us in the poll, on the poll, or hey, we would love to meet with you, reach out, whether it's a group, you wanna do a one-on-one interview, you have a business that we could host a meeting at, like, just sort of advertising that we're looking to have a conversation in some way,
Yeah,
so.
Could we do postcards to the, like, to rentals? Like to people who are in rental properties, because I feel like sometimes they don't engage in the same way because they don't have a stake. Like, well, it's not my house, so it doesn't really matter. But is there, I mean, I would write postcards. I've done that for the league and for, like, curing ballots.
Yeah, we can talk about that. One other idea I had was if we can get in touch with the managers of the apartment buildings, could we host a meeting, either if they have a community room, awesome, if not, can we invite them somewhere else nearby to have a conversation, but,
When
yeah.
the city was trying to pass the, replacement levy and bond for this building, there was a lot of that kind of grassroots the third time.
Yeah.
To
Are you
attempt to pass.
talking about personally handwritten postcards or like a postcard that we produce, but maybe it's targeted to people who live in apartments?
A postcard that we produce that's targeted to people in apartments and they write a hand little sentence
Okay.
and sign it.
Um,
But there were people from the Pass the Bond committee that were like going to Sorelli's and just hanging out for a night and connecting. Like, do you know about the upcoming bond? Do you know why it matters? Do you have questions? How can I, share information about why this matters?
Yeah, and we could host a meeting in a restaurant too. As a, like.
Yeah,
that's
so I
what-
mean,
they just
were like, I'm gonna be at Sorelli's tonight, and somebody else was at Diamond Knot, and.
No, that's great, yeah.
I will send this to Carolyn, but if you want some inspiration, WashDOT on social media is the obsession of one of our creative team. Because they have some of the funniest videos that are like informational videos. But they're just kind of,
I mean, like merge like it's a zipper.
yes, or like, it's summer, so we're gonna bring you all the construction. So, there are some playful things that you can do, but would be great.
I am planning to build out a new webpage. It can link off of yours, but just like for the strategic plan, so we can have all this information for the focus there. But if there's other ideas you have about marketing, yeah, let me know. And then lastly, engagement ideas. So we already talked about some of these, which is great, but, so there's the online poll, we talked about workshops and small group discussions. We talked about attending a partners meeting, like already having a meeting. Can we come and spend 20 minutes or whatever there? The pop-ups with an incentive maybe. So if there's other ideas you have, or other groups that I haven't already reached out to, let me know so we can coordinate the outreach. Yeah. And there's no real time limit, like I think we could go through winter, like. I mean, maybe for now, we could just say like early March, but I don't wanna like put a hard stop on it if like someone really wants to do something with us, but. Either we connect with them late and they can't do it this year or whatever, so.
I think that is would be important for any of these things to occur. this slide, the one before, is that we identify the why. Okay, because I think everybody out there that you're going to wanna do any of these things are gonna ask the question, why? Just like we talked about earlier, a lot of people that said, why DEI? DEI, why? You know, well, same thing, if you wanna do all these things. You gotta be able to tell me why. Why do you want her?
Yeah.
You know, to make a sweater, I don't wanna make a sweater, that's not really what I'm telling you, so I think that's it's important that we understand what the why is, so that we can articulate it.
Awesome. So that's all I had on that. I don't know if you experts had any additional things that you wanted to share on the engagement strategy.
I definitely have some ideas, but I wanna do a little research before
Okay.
I have a lot of ideas, but it would overwhelm.
Okay, well, we can talk. We have a meeting
And I
tomorrow.
was gonna say.
Yeah, let's talk within our means.
Yeah,
Let me do a frame down and say, this is within our means. And then
Yeah.
also for your partners. I think
Yeah.
that's always great. If you can get your partners, it's a great way to also bring them into the work. It's the groups that you've already been working with and making connections with is how do we maximize that now? Like, how are they sharing? If we're gonna create a video, can we get them to commit to share it on their social media and hype it up and do that kind of thing?
You know, Wayback has a media department, Washington's, Western African Center. They have a media center.
Exactly.
You know, there's nothing that they do to their media people who are not following them and videotaping everything. And editing, you know, they're teaching the
Yes.
people how to do that, et cetera, et cetera. They got their own studio.
And I was also thinking the Mountlake Terrace group, right, their journalism group, how do we, this would be a good opportunity, but I'm thinking like, you know, like, that's why I'm like, within our means, what can we do?
yeah.
Cause I could go really, I get excited about this stuff, it's where I live happily, like, let's build all this engagement and partner there and partner there, but
Are you going to share the survey results publicly?
All right, well, I think our next topic, I just needed to talk to y'all about the logistics for welcoming week on Saturday, and then we'll go into. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Have a great night.
Wait, there's a handout in front of you. This one? Yes. There's an extra one you can.
You know what, give them help.
Yep, feel free to spread the word about that for them. There's a lot more in the other, in the lobby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, so we have, at least 22 organizations coming on Saturday, which is impressive. Thank you all for that outreach that you did. And Andrew's been helping me with logistics, so he has this tentative room layout on the back, so. A couple things that he and I were chatting about, just for organizing is one, those of you who can make it. I think there's 4 people.
I won't be able to be there.
So.
I'll be there.
Yeah, I have the day blocked.
Hey.
I can't remember, you said you couldn't.
Added in the.
Oh, okay, okay. And I thought Patricia maybe had reserved, all right, so we have
At least 3 of us.
William, Vanita, and Teresa.
Uh-oh.
Somebody said the one.
Well,
You got her back? You the big kid in the room, let's go, man.
What time is it?
I think it's 11.
11 to 2.
I'm good.
yes.
Yeah, 11 to 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Run across the border that way.
Well, I imagine when you do that, it doesn't end at 7 o'clock at night, I mean, on the show, or you didn't, or yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you gonna be?
Surrey, just over the border, not too far.
Oh, yeah.
But then next night, I think it'd be out.
Nice.
Um. Okay, that was exciting. All right, so we'll have, if you all could come at 9 and help set up, that would be awesome. And then around 9:30, the vendor could start showing it, so we'll just have to set up some tables and move things around.
You get is there a request for tables you have in the school and chairs?
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm. Yeah, we met with them
okay,
a couple weeks back.
that's
So-
Angie.
Yeah,
I love this.
yeah. So, one new idea that I had, and we can nix it if we don't think it's good, but, so we have this open area, so I imagine that we'll have at least a couple people back here in the snack area, we'll have the coloring, and we'll have, there's chalk art we can do out in the patio.
Yeah.
So one idea I thought is, it's been hard for us to get people to do the poll. And we have our sign with the QR code, but no one really does it. So I had done this event a long time ago in previous life where we had what was called a park bench, and it doesn't have to be a park bench, but it was just a nice place at the venue with a comfortable seating area. We had like fake plants and like grass, fake grass, but just like it was a special spot in the venue. It wasn't just like every other seat in the area. And I would say, William, would you like to have a conversation with me? And you'd come sit with me and we'd have maybe a cup of tea with us or whatever. And it would just be a conversation and we'd have those questions, and maybe they aren't as formal as these, but like, what's your experience been like living in Mountlake Terrace? Have you felt welcome? Have you ever visited the city hall or an event? And we could modify these questions to make them more conversational. And with their permission, we could record it and use data gathering. And so, but we would have to decide whether we could have at least one person spared in that area to do that. So, or we have people sign up and we grab folks to do that.
Now, where is the front and the back of?
So this is the doors to the gym and that's the stage.
Oh, okay, so they'll come in.
Yeah,
through
so
that
they'll come in this way and then this door will have to be open because the bathrooms are that way. And there's also a
There's
bathroom.
bathrooms here.
There's one unit, one stall.
Oh,
There are
So
one
so what
seats.
is this area?
This is the gym
That's the gym.
and that's where the lunchroom is.
Okay,
And then there's a playground out here.
so how many exits are there to get out of there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
so people will come in this way. Outside we'll have a fire truck and the bookmobile. And so we were thinking if we had a table out here so people know where to go.
Mhm.
So we could have our banner on our table there. And then so it'll be Andrew and I will be staffing, and then the 3 of the commissioners. So we'll have 5 of us sort of running around, and we can take positions or rotate out. And then I'll bring all the food and, our DEI
Do you want
table
to
and
use the popcorn maker?
Hmm?
Do you want to use the popcorn maker?
The
The schools, yeah.
Can you arrange that or do I?
Yes.
Okay,
We would just need to get popcorn,
okay. What kind of, like regular popcorn?
yeah,
Okay.
like the same kind you'd use for the National Night Out.
Just like bags of corn?
Yeah, just
Okay,
but I can get the popcorn maker. I'm gonna be there tomorrow for a hearing screening, so I'll talk to Angie.
do I need like oil or butter or whatever?
Yes, oil and the salt, or the pre-packaged.
Might wanna talk to Andrew, because he knows exactly what you need,
Yeah, I can ask.
because they do
him.
that.
I mean, yeah, the PTA does it too, so like
Yeah.
I'll talk to Andrew about it.
Yeah.
Thanks. And, let's see, those are the key things, just the time, showing up to help set things up. And then we'll have a version of this map with, oh, I think he already did it. He numbered which table is going to which organization, so we'll help people get directed to the right place. And then they set up, so.
So you need for us to tell you where we're gonna be, what we're gonna do tonight, correct?
I think we can do that if you want, or we can also rotate, so people, because there's so few of us that if someone's like out here all day, is that okay? Or would you like to rotate in and have conversations with the vendors?
Depending on what. kind
So
of
we could do
meeting it
like
is.
1 hour
Well, it's not supposed to
rotation.
rain.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I think the high is 68.
Oh, that'd be good.
Mhm.
It'll be like today.
Yeah,
Yeah, today was good.
Yeah,
so we could have,
68, no rain.
people rotate every hour if you want, because there's 3 hours.
So I won't be there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with whatever.
Does anyone have a preference?
I can start here.
Okay, so we'll do, Williams.
What is this table doing?
It's welcoming people and, telling them what's going on, where to go.
Okay. So it has nothing to do with the vendors and it's just the people.
Well, in the beginning, we might have a couple of us out there, like before we open.
Yeah.
We need to like help the vendors get set up, so we'll probably just all gather there and help people find their way. But when at 11 o'clock, it'll be to greet people. And, I think we're gonna give them this map. So that they know who's there.
Yeah.
And they can
Yeah.
navigate their way around.
Yeah.
And it's got the QR code for the poll, and so.
I mean, I don't mind starting that side, but somebody go.
So
And bundle up.
you do it so that it's, a half page. So that you can see both sides at once.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
all the-
So it's like that.
Yeah, add the vendors on the,
Yeah, put the vendors in the map, so that you can see it side by side.
yeah. So we'll just rotate, so William said he'd start outside and then we'll just.
Oh, you're gonna start outside.
We'll just rotate.
Well, I don't mind, I can be at the DEI table if you want.
At the snack DEI table. And then we have, oh, also, we're gonna have interpreters. I have 4. So I think they should hang out at least kind of in proximity to either the welcome table or the DEI booth.
Yeah.
So that if somebody comes in and they need interpretation, they're right there. I'm hoping we have people who want to use them. All right, and then the third person would be the interviewer / activities. Person. So Benita, you can start there and then we'll just rotate through and I'll come up with a schedule and send that to you. Okay, anything else that I need to show?
I'm guessing that he's getting no pinata.
I think he
Pinata?
he said no bouncy house and maybe on the pinata, but it will probably have to be outside.
Yeah.
Why not put no bouncy house?
It's insurance.
Next time you want to do bouncy house, partner with PTA. PTA insurance.
I don't think our insurer allows them.
Oh, wow.
But if PTA sponsored the bounce house, had a bounce house.
As long as you don't have it outside on
I'll,
windy days.
I'll bug Andrew on Saturday.
Okay.
Okay,
Scott.
all right, commissioner reports. Commissioner Page.
Okay, real quickly, we, August 22nd, attended the city council work session, shared my thoughts on the pavilion work upcoming. And, pretty much focused on my comments centered around what percentage of people are actually using the pavilion and, is it the community versus outside the community? If we're gonna ask, all these new residents to help pay for it, what percentage is actually using it? I-29 I helped host at the Terrace Middle School, a brief session for residents of Briar, MOT, and Linwood residents regarding a Jada Woods Johnson death, with the Access Project. 8:30, helped with the booth at MLT, transit station, heavy flow of people, very engaging. September 5th, City Council reception proclamation. September, on the 7th, I attended the 44th Street Fair in Linwood. It was kind of like a national night out on steroids.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. It was really set up, kind of like what we're doing.
Yeah.
Saturday, that's what I kind of got out of it. It was very, a lot of ideas, it was very, family and children focused, with, resources, so kind of like what we're doing. And, on the 20th, I'm gonna be attending the arts reception. And then finding ways to volunteer for the art show.
Thank you. Commissioner Francisco.
I helped out with the county auditor at the end of August with the hand recount for the state insurance, the state land commissioner.
Yeah.
I don't remember. We were just at the end, I counted, I think we did like over 2,000 ballots that second day of sorting and counting. And my kiddo started high school, so we did the high school orientation thing. I missed your community transit launch day because we were at camp. City council meeting for proclamations. Saturday, the 7th was the League of Women Voters Fire Up. So there's a lot of communications about ways to connect within the communities, to partner for voting, for outreach, for bringing people in, to civic engagement. School board meetings, I went to the Cops and Clergy in Linwood on the 12th, and that was really cool. They were talking about trauma-informed care at the new Linwood police station. Day of service, I went for an hour. It was really gross weather, so I was there for an hour, and then my kids started texting me, and I kept taking my gloves off to answer her, and my gloves and my phone were gross. And so after an hour, I'm like, I gotta just go home and talk to you because I can't keep texting you. And then Saturday evening, I went to with the Red Cross and helped out at the fire in Edmonds at that apartment complex. So the Red Cross helped out with that. Sunday was National Voter Registration Day. Y'all filled up Linwood, and so I had to go to Shoreline because I wasn't going to Marysville. So I went to the Linwood Goodwill or the Shoreline Goodwill for the voter registration day.
Sure, yeah.
I got to participate as a musician at the Celebrate Shoreline event. There were actually 2 Hawaiian groups in that event. It was a lot of fun. And then at the Linwood Duo, I was so impressed at how many Mountlake Terrace city people were there. The mayor, and it was nice to see that. And so I do. Who knows what it could be, but I do hope at some point that we can, do something, and I know Pacific Island is a very small percentage of residents here, but, it would be nice for us to do something along those lines. And then I also was part of the transit, launch, day, and I gotta say, I was just really couldn't believe how many people were there, first of all. It was just an amazing amount of people, which was really, it was great to see. And then also, I wanted to say that just, watching the 3 of you engage and how you answer questions and things, the things you were being asked and the things you were saying, and a lot of it was covered in this meeting today about engagement. I was genuinely impressed and really enjoyed being in that booth with all of you.
Lisa.
Well, my travel in Morocco was with a family, so I was surrounded by people, you know, it wasn't like a tourist kind of a thing, so. And it was a great reminder of how exhausting it is to be in a situation where you can't understand the language. I mean, I can speak a little bit of French but I know 4 words of Arabic. And so, it was a wonderful trip. Everybody was wonderful to me, but by the end of the 2 weeks, it was because you always have to be just paying attention all the time. So I think, that was a good, just kind of reminder to me, how hard it is for people when they come here and they don't speak the language. And I didn't have all the other challenges that people have, because, you know, people were taking care of me. I was at the light rail opening, of course, and, the city council meeting where we did the proclamations. I was also at the League of Women Voters meeting on the 7th, and I joined the league. And then I did go to Marysville yesterday.
Yay!
And, did voter registration, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Mhm. And I'm hoping to go to the artist reception too. And of course, I'll be there.
I think there's gonna be free food.
Free food, yeah.
I was at the light rail event and very busy, talked to a lot of people, some from Mountlake Terrace, others from nearby Edmonds and Shoreline and Briar and Bothell, somebody all the way from Tacoma,
Yeah.
just to hang out with the light rail people. Everybody excited about light rail. I showed up at the Hispanic Proclamation reception only. Wasn't able to stick around for all of it. Went to the Unity in Action on 9/13 International Refugee Committee. This is a group of people that help refugees transition into living here. They help the families transition to live, work, and integrate into the community here. It's really a fascinating process, start to finish. This was recommended by Karem, and the question I would have would be that would the commission welcome someone from the IRC, a representative from there, for an opportunity to learn about the process of integrating families here in this area. Apparently, Seattle is getting really full up and they're moving north. So we're beginning to see more refugees out in this area. So that's something I think we can entertain. National Day of Service, Lake Ballinger Park, did a lot of clearing and mulching. And then voter registration day. This was with the League of Women Voters and Common Power. I was one of the first ones into the registering for Linwood, so I got my time slot. Signed up 3 voters on our shift, actually signed them up. Yeah.
We had actually, let's start that slow, but we got a few.
Yeah. That's it. Okay, staff report.
Just a couple things, reminder, if you are interested in that People's Institute training, I know William, you were a maybe. It was, I think, December 5th and 6th, a Friday and a Saturday. Just respond to the email that Suni sent. I forwarded it to you, and I think we have 2 staff members that are gonna go. So
Okay.
I can resend it if you want.
Yeah, would you mind doing that, because I know I saw it, but, oh, here it is, it was on the 12th, you sent it, yeah.
And just related to recruiting, we are currently recruiting for a community communications and community engagement manager. So Ricky has left the city, and an HR manager. And there's a couple other jobs as well for maintenance and facilities. So I put the link on my LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, you can share it there. Or you can just link people to our jobs page if you're inclined to do so. Our new finance director started yay. And, we have a public works director who has accepted a job and will start on October 8th, so we're excited about that.
There was a lot of turnover recently, wasn't there?
Yep,
Seems like.
it's also just, I feel like in these times, there's just turnover. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so, between retirements and young people don't stay as long as maybe.
Do you think the salary adjustments helped?
Yes, we were about to lose a lot of people. So,
Okay.
yeah. Those are the main things. Just been working on a lot of budget, so. Without our finance structure in place, it fell on different hands. So,
All right, any new business?
I got one thing for us to consider. Duncan Clausen, he works for the state auditor's office. I met him in June and, at an event, and he is a, elections and voter outreach specialist. And he and I had talked about possibility of before the elections, maybe, spending some time just since it's videotaped, where he could share, what he does when he does outreach, for folks in order to, get them registered.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we were gonna do something like that, it would have to be in October. And, maybe at our meeting for a few minutes where, he comes and just, they have a system machine or whatever that allows, folks to be able to do what they need to do. And, and he could share, with us, with the community, how to, get themselves registered and all the key dates and whatever. And then, if we were to do something like that, then it would be like important for us as a group to get that video out, because it'll be on YouTube, but to get it shared on our, where we're on our sources, so that we make sure people can go to it, look at it, and see it. So that's what I got. If we're interested.
are you interested in having this Duncan attend next time?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, but he's away right now. We're
Okay.
talking to him on the 26th, so I can
Okay.
find out exactly how much time he needs.
Yeah.
And whatever,
And,
I was wondering, new business, so the thing we were today about the idea of maybe a land acknowledgement thing, is this a place to kind of mention that we can start talking about it, maybe in the next, in the future? I really like the idea, so.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it has come up before in this committee with this commission. Matter of fact, I think as recently as probably like last year,
Mhm.
and the idea was, research needed to be done as to who's the group, and if the group thought that it'd be worthwhile, because, the council has talked about this back in 2020, when we first brought it up, and the question was why, not because of being ignorant or anything, but just why, what value other than just doing it is it going to be able to come across as. So that's what they wanted from us when we brought it up, but it didn't move like it should have, so.
Yeah, I'll talk to Jeff, just about where council is with that. But yeah, I think we talked about this a while ago about, it's important to engage the tribes in the conversation and to figure out who those, appropriate groups are to have the conversation, and it can get really controversial. So, in Burien, we went through this, it took a long time, a lot of relationship building. And in the end, because of what Burien was, there was that dispute between the Muckleshoot and the Wamish. council ended up using more general language, even though there were strong opinions on the council about both sides. So it is, it seems like a good gesture, but it is also,
Yeah,
a
It can't just be
significant
done
amount of
willy-nilly,
important
yeah.
work.
right,
And so,
yeah.
Yeah,
we just wanna make sure that council wants to go down there.
okay.
The Edmonds School District person has changed, but had also offered to come and talk to us
Oh.
if we wanted to have the educational presentation on what land acknowledgements and why,
Yeah.
and how that's taught, or how those discussions have been led at the district.
Well, it seems like it's a really important thing. It's up to us to do something about that, right, to move it forward. Because it's been on the table for such a long time. We ought to just.
Well, I mean, it came up and there was when Steve was, you know, the liaison and, you know, we had received a couple of emails, you know, from Native Americans and, you know, one was like, no, you know, y'all don't believe in this anyway. You know, and the other one was, we could talk about it. So, I mean, like she said, it was very time, it got immediately as soon as they heard about it, you know, so, you know, and so research, you know, has to be done,
Sure,
you know.
sure. But maybe from where we are, as DEI, we can nudge it forward, we can do some of that, get
Yeah,
some here.
absolutely.
We can have the platform at least here and that will motivate. Let's do it. Let's talk about it next month. That can work for you?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Elections explained at the Mountlake Terrace Library, 10:15. This is voting process and election security, ballot processing,
is that?
Q&A.
Well, our meeting is the
10:15.
16th. Are they gonna be doing the same thing this
Oh,
guy's gonna be
15th.
doing on the 16th?
Probably, but this is,
Garth, right?
yeah, this is here at the library, so if anybody wanted to attend, I think,
What
I
time?
mean, that's a good primer, 6 to 7.
6 to 7.
Yeah, so it's not long and it includes Q&A and public will be there,
On 10:15.
10:15.
So that's probably with Garth, the Snohomish County Auditor,
Oh, okay,
and Duncan works in his department
yeah.
as one of them. The League of Women Voters has been hosting presentations with the auditor's office, and they're doing forums leading up to the election every
Yeah,
week.
yes, and so this is, I think, one of them.
Those, yeah.
Yeah, I think it starts out in Stanwood or something like.
There was one on the day of the fair on 44th. That was the first one,
Got it,
the same day as the fair on 44th and
got it.
the league's fire.
Yeah.
They're on the ferry yesterday.
And they're everything is posted to YouTube.
Nice.
So.
Well, if people don't know, I mean, so one lady thought she said, I'm not voting on those voting machines. I'm not voting online. She didn't even know how we got ballots.
This is a
Yeah,
mail
like-
state.
Huh? Yeah.
Mail state.
Yeah,
mail
but I mean,
state.
she was not a new resident, I mean, she just hadn't voted in a long time.
So I know a lot of folks are going to our trip on Friday, but College Place Middle School is also having their, I don't know how to say the word, the bingo.
Great. Yes.
Yes, and so my family's going to that, and then 10-1 is an in-person debate that Teresa Whipple will be is that emceeing, asking the questions, the interviewer, the questioner.
I think I signed up to volunteer.
Yeah, so that'll be at the Black Box Theater at Edmonds College, and it'll be the insurance commissioner and the Secretary of State debates.
Oh,
And then our meeting is the 16th, but on October 17th is the Edmonds Special Education PTSA affiliation meeting. They're gonna launch, and that'll be in at the Edmonds Library. And then October 23rd is a huge town hall at Edmonds Woodway High School, where a lot of people are coming to talk about education funding crisis,
nice.
legislators. And pre-registration is requested because they've invited multiple districts, and so the building's gonna fill.
Will they be streaming it?
But that's a great question, I will find out.
What was the second to last thing you said?
Especially Edmonds PTSA Council's affiliation meeting
I am.
on, October 17th at Edmonds Library. And on Zoom. 5 to 7.
Great.
Hey, Ron sent me pictures in a long time.
Oh.
The things that you've been doing.
Oh, I didn't get a
I actually
photo.
have-
So
I do have a photo.
I can also send you a Dropbox link if you have a lot of pictures, but you can also, if you just have a handful.
Yeah,
you can email.
you wanna send me your
There's someone.
Dropbox link again anyway,
Mhm.
just so that I connect.
I was waiting to get the Dropbox, then I got Dropbox set up and then I got distracted. Yes, things of Dropbox. For welcoming.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that.
perfect.
For welcoming week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm sorry I'm not gonna be there. So just,
If you all haven't pushed it on your socials lately, can you
Mhm.
please?
oh, yeah, I
Push
posted.
what, the,
That welcoming week.
oh,
Welcoming
yeah,
week.
I keep
Yes.
posting it.
It went out in one of the district parents' court things.
Yeah,
I saw it there too.
awesome.
I just sent you that picture.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take one of these. So just for your information, next week is for me all about the other board that I'm on. I'm on the board for an organization that provides funding for people that can't afford medical care and medications, things like that. It's a national board, and every year we go to Washington DC and we push it.
Oh,
And so that's next week.
nice.
So we leave Friday, so I won't be here on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks for doing
That's
that.
yeah, you bet. I'll post about it and you'll see.
Was your
Nice.
drug one of the ones that got reduced?
No,
Wow.
no. It's $305 a day, I mean, a pill, and I need 4 a day. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, when they reduced those, I was listening to the names of the drugs. That one's got the same and. Darn it.
Do you want to end the meeting?
Huh?
Do you want to end the meeting?
Yes, I do want to end the meeting.
Not to end the conversation, but.
Yeah,
Yes, let's adjourn. Thank you very much, everyone.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Oh, we gotta do that.